x squared plus c equals 0. It doesn't have the bx term. Okay, it can be solved using square roots. So step 1 is to isolate our x squared. So we want to get our x squared term by itself. So in our example, I'm going to move our 49 to the other side. So I'm going to add 49 to both sides. So I have x squared equals 49. And then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Now remember, when you're taking the square root, okay, a positive number always has 2 square roots. So the square root of 49 is going to be a positive and a negative 7 is our final answer. So there's a few differences in these problems, and I want to go over just a couple of those. For example, number 1 is just like the example, so I feel like you should be able to do that on your own. But number 3, we have x squared plus 25. So step 1 tells us to get our 25 to the other side. So I'm going to have x squared equals negative 25. And then step 2 is to do the square root. So square root, square root. Now, remember, I cannot do the square root of a negative number. Since I cannot find the square root of a negative number, I'm going to have no solutions, and my answer would just be no solutions. So it's either no solutions with a little circle like that, or you just write the word no solution. Okay, so let's also look at let's do 5. So number 5, there's an extra number over here instead of your 0. In order to solve this, you're just going to add 5 to this and then simplify. So you're just completing the order of operations. And then for number 6, instead of adding or subtracting, you have a 6x squared here. Okay, let me just go fast. Okay, you have a 6x squared here. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6 to get x squared equals 9. And then I can go ahead and solve from here. Okay, so same idea. Some of these have, if you look at numbers 9 and 10, there's 2 different things. So make sure you're adding and then dividing on those kind. I want to go ahead and flip to number 12. So first step for number 12 is you're going to want to subtract that 3. So we're going to take 3 away. So I'm going to have 1/2 x squared equals 72. And remember, to get rid of this fraction here, we're multiplying by the reciprocal. So multiplying by 2 over 1, or just 2, same thing. Okay, and then I have x squared equals 144, and I can solve from there, doing the square root of both sides. Okay, so let's look at 14. So 14, it's going to be a little different. We're going to go ahead and solve this, and we're going to go ahead and first subtract our 10. So I'm going to have 25 x squared equals 36. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 25. Okay, so I have x squared equals 36 over 25. Now I'm going to do the square root of this. Okay, square root, square root. Now remember, when I'm doing the square root of a fraction, I'm doing the square root of the top number and the square root of the bottom number. Okay, so I'm going to have a positive or negative, and the square root of 36 is 6. The square root of 25 is 5. So positive or negative 6 over 5. Okay, so what if there's irrational solutions? So for number 17, we can get an answer, and you can have zeros that are irrational. Remember, solution and zeros mean the same thing. So we're going to solve the quadratic equations and write in simplest radical form. So for number 17, let's look at let's leave 17. So we're going to go ahead and add 3 to both sides. So I'm going to have x squared equals 3. Okay, and then I can go ahead and do my square root like step 2 says. Now, I cannot do the square root of 3. That does not simplify. It becomes a fraction. So my final answer is going to be positive and negative square root of 3 here. And you would just leave it like that if you cannot simplify the square root. Okay, so our radicals couldn't be simplified, so that's my answer. Now for number 18, when I go ahead and solve this, I'm going to do my square root. I know that the square root of 8 can be simplified. Okay, So we're going to use our radicals. Remember when we separated them and simplified them by the greatest perfect square that went into both? We're going to apply those rules here. So it's going to be a positive or a negative. And then I know the greatest perfect square that goes into 8 is 4. And 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so then I can go ahead and simplify this. So I get positive or negative 2 square roots of 2 is what my x is equal to. Right? So you're going to apply those rules for all of these ones with irrational solutions. And remember, if you're finding the square root of a negative number, that means there's no solution.